The frontalis muscle is located on the forehead and closely adheres to the skin of the skull. The frontalis allows for the change of facial expressions through the raising and lowering of the eyebrows. The serratus ventralis muscle is extremely important in holding up the chest and moving the shoulder blade when the animal is in motion. There are two parts to the serratus ventralis, the cervical or neck section and the thoracic or chest section, both attached to the underside of the scapula to push and pull at the shoulder blade when needed. The deep digital flexor muscle runs down the back of the leg and ends at the third phalanx of the hoof. This muscle plays an important role in the movement of an animal. Working together with the many tendons of the leg, the deep digital flexor provides the power to raise, lower, and bend the legs.
The external intercostal muscle is on the inferior border of the ribs. It expands and contracts the intercostal spaces for breathing purposes. Levator nasal labialis is on the surface of the skull attached to the nasal bone that connects to the maxilla. It lifts the upper lip and dilates the nostrils. The gluteus superficialis flexes the hip joint and moves the upper leg. It connects from the ilium to the trochanter major.
The coccygeus muscle attaches to the ilium and the base of the tail and functions to raise the tail during the act of urination or defecation. The orbicularis oculi is located on the frontal bone of the skull and surrounds the eye socket. It functions to open and close the eyelids. The trapezius muscle attaches to the spine of the scapula and swings the limb cranially to advance during normal locomotion.
The transverse abdominal compresses the rib and viscera, allowing the thoracic and pelvic regions to remain stable. It hangs downward from the ribs of the cow and runs wide horizontally from the rear to the sternum of the cow. The deltoid serves to move the shoulder and thus works as a flexor. It also runs alongside the scapula to the top of the humerus. The semitendinosus muscle of the cow works to flex the knee and extend the hip. It also runs parallel to the femur and the tibia.
This is the sacrocaudalus dorsal medialis. This muscle is found down the length of the cow's tail, starting at the back half of the sacrotubulus ligament. It aids in tail movement. This is the bicep bronchi muscle. This muscle is found in the leg, extending from the bottom of the scapula bone to the top of the radius bone. It aids in flexing the elbow. This is the longissimus muscle. This muscle stretches all the way down the cow's spine from the sacrum bone by the tail to the atlas bone just behind the skull. It aids in neck and back lateral flexion and extension.
The interscutularis muscle is attached to the frontal bone and occipital bones and is responsible for the wide variety of movements that animals can make with their ears. The common digital extensor connects with the humerus and the ulna, and then the muscle splits in two at the level of the fetlock, and each branch inserts on each distal phalanx. It assists in the movement of the foot. The omotransversaris muscle connects at the transverse processes of the atlas and the acromion and spine of the scapula, and it assists in the movement of the neck.